What's up, y'all? It's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's The Garden, and I'm your host, Taryn Balzana. Don't mind my voice. I have been under quite a bit of stress lately, and I developed a little cough, and anyway, it's making its way out, but my voice sounds like it does. So, I want to give myself a little shameless plug because the past couple weeks I have been really working hard to take my insurance course to get licensed to sell insurance. And I have been grinding for the past couple weeks. And on Sunday night, I took my test and I passed for the very first time. I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't pass the first time, and I am very sorry, but I'm just very proud of myself because I put in a lot of long, hard hours. And I will be completely honest with you, I was not even that confident going into it, but we came out on top. It doesn't even tell you the score, it just tells you that you passed, which at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because I passed. So, that is something that I've been working on, and now that's done, I never have to take that test again, thank God. And now we are on to making some bigger and better moves. Just really something that's going to allow me to focus on the podcast more, focus on ministry more, be home, work with family. I know not everybody works with family so well, but I love working with my family. So yeah, that's just a little behind the scenes of what's going on in my world. I am so glad that you're here. I hope that you're having a great week. I hope that your summer is off to a good start. I don't know about you, but my summers are always a little crazy and chaotic, but I love every second of them. And this summer, I know some of you may remember me telling you about last summer, which was very crazy and chaotic. I was going all over the place all summer. This summer is no different. So as you are listening to this, I will be a camp counselor at youth camp. So, yeah, and that's just the first segment of the summer. So jumping in to today's episode, I want to talk about speaking truth in love, the benefit of the truth, and what the truth is. Now, like I said, this week when you're watching or listening, I will be at church camp for youth and being a camp counselor. And teenagers are people who definitely need to be taught truth in love if we want it to be received well. But honestly, that's true for everyone. We are so much more apt to listen and receive something if it is taught to us in love. Now, hear me when I say that does not mean bypass the truth, bypass hard conversations, because they need to be had, but they need to be had in love. I read something on Facebook the other day that really ignited my urge to share this message. And I had this topic with a verse saved for a future topic. I have like a note in my notes for future podcast topics. And I had this topic along with a verse in my notes for a while. But after I read this post on Facebook, I knew it was time to share it. And it's also funny and super cool how ever since I decided to do this topic, God has just been giving me more and more tools and equipping me for sharing this. So in this post, it was said, Jesus wasn't crucified for being nice. He was crucified because he spoke the truth that disrupted the comfortable. Let me just say it again. Jesus wasn't crucified for being nice. He was crucified because he spoke the truth that disrupted the comfortable. Yikes. But also, so true. It also said Christians stay lukewarm because they think Jesus was just a barefoot hippie with a soft voice. Nice didn't get him crucified. Truth did. He was bold, blunt, and controversial. Truth made flesh. But you know what else he was known for? His representation of love. Ephesians 4:15 says, "Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up every way into him who is the head, into Christ." In the verse, we read that truth plus love equals growth. And you know how big I am on growing. It's commonly interpreted that speaking truth in love means we never offend anyone. The truth is going to be offensive no matter how it's told, because it's calling someone out. It's calling them higher. Another thing that's commonly misinterpreted, weaponized, is, well, Jesus ate with sinners. And people use that phrase as a way to silence Christians who speak against sin. I hear it all the time. I see it on Facebook all the time when someone's calling someone out or saying something. Well, Jesus ate with sinners. Right. He did. To show them that he loved them before he spoke truth. To say, hey, I love you. I'm going to sit at your table. I'm going to eat with you. What you're doing does not change the fact that I love you. But what you're doing is sinning. Luke 5:31-32 says, "And Jesus answered, 'Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.'" Jesus came to call people out of sin, not to make them feel comfy in it. John 8:1-11 tells the story of a woman caught in adultery. And it says, "But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and placing her in the midst, they said to him, 'Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now in the law Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say?' This they said to test him, that they might have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. And as they continued to ask him, he stood up and said to them, 'Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her.' And once more he bent down and wrote on the ground. But when they heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus stood up and said to her, 'Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?' She said, 'No one, Lord.' And Jesus said, 'Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, sin no more.'" He protected her, but he also told her to go and sin no more. He called her higher in love. There were times where Jesus was a little more rigid, too. Matthew 21:12-13. "And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, 'It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers.'" This example is another commonly misinterpreted one, as people frequently use it to justify personal anger or aggressive behavior. However, the key distinction is that Jesus' anger was directed at the misuse and commercialization of the temple, a place of worship, not to excuse personal rage or aggressive acts. The anger represented by Jesus is referred to as righteous anger, which is a form of anger based on seeing offenses against God or his word, and motivated by love for Christ and God's principles. Different from common human anger, which is often driven by personal frustration or rage. In Matthew 23, Jesus rebukes the Pharisees for being hypocrites, teaching that things are to be done a certain way and not doing them themselves, prioritizing the wrong things. It says 5 times in that chapter, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites." Jesus spoke plainly and blunt. He wasn't worried about being canceled or misinterpreted. He wasn't worried what people think or upholding his image. He was more concerned with truth and transformation. People prefer a gentle Jesus, but forget the righteous fire he also carried. We think love is avoiding hard conversations, avoiding truth. That isn't love, it's fear. Hebrews 12:6 says the Lord disciplines those he loves. Biblical love corrects, convicts, and calls people higher. I mean, you never question your parents when they discipline you. You might when you're younger because you don't really understand it yet. As you get older, you look back and you appreciate the discipline they showed you because you can see how it was out of love. And when you have your own kids or you are around little ones, you discipline them out of love, calling them higher, knowing what they're capable of, protecting them. It's all done out of a place of love. It's uncomfortable to be corrected. But as it was stated earlier, truth plus love equals growth. And I'm pretty sure we all remember those growing pains when we were younger. And we still get them. They just look a little different now as we're older. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It's the enemy of progress. Correction is meant to heal and restore, give you knowledge for the future, make you wiser. And I want to encourage you as Christians not to shrink back from speaking truth even when it's unpopular. I also want to challenge you. Is your love leading people to truth or enabling them to stay stuck? It is possible to be both kind and clear, gentle and honest. And my prayer for all of you is that God would give you boldness in love, clarity in truth, and compassion like Christ. And for those that may be listening who have been called out and called higher, who are not a fan of someone because they addressed something that you were doing, a sin that you're living in. John 8:32 says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." When you know it and embrace it, when you push past the growing pains, you will be free from the bondage of sin and the other harmful things you may be facing or living in. Freedom is a gift given to you by God through Jesus. And I don't want you to miss. I would hate for you to miss what a wonderful gift that is. Because you're uncomfortable? Because it's painful? Can you imagine being a plant and starting from a seed and growing into this plant, and you have to push up out of the dirt? Now, if a plant had physical feeling, could you imagine that that would be pretty painful? All the things that it has to push up through to be beautiful, to grow into this plant, to mature. I mean, when we're younger, we get those growing pains in our legs, in our back, all over, because we're growing, we're maturing. We were never meant to stay the same. Being saved calls us to be a new creation. It makes us a new creation. There is freedom in the truth. God sent his son to die on a cross for you and for me, to pay all of our debt. It's done. It's finished. The balance is zero. And we've talked about it before. A lot of people stay stuck because they minimize the power of the cross. I used to do it. I get that. But when you realize how much power is in the cross, how much power is in what Jesus did, how much freedom there is at your fingertips, it's a gift freely given to you. And I know I've talked about that so much, how there's so many gifts out there that God gives to you freely. It's sitting in a box at the corner of your room. All you have to do is open it. And I refer to that analogy time and time again because there's so many gifts given to you freely. The truth will make you free, and it's uncomfortable and it's painful, and you have to grow and you have to push past it. And you might have to find new friends. You might have to move. I don't know what that means for you. But there is freedom in the truth. There's freedom in knowing that God loved you so much that he sent his son to die for you. While you were still sinners. While we were still sinners. But he doesn't want us to stay in that sin. He doesn't want us to stay there, to stay stuck. Because sin is this temporary fix, this temporary feeling. At the end of the day, you still go to bed at night questioning your worth. Not being able to fall asleep because you lack so much peace. Self-conscious, insecure, because you don't really know the gifts that are there for you. You don't really know the freedom that's found through Jesus. And I don't want you to miss that freedom. I don't want you to stay in bondage to sin. He is a chain breaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper. He was sent to be a light in your darkness. Yeah, he's going to call you out. And those that are following him are going to call you out in love. That's how they're supposed to. And it's going to be uncomfortable. And you're going to notice that other people notice you. They notice how you're living. They notice the lack of peace it's bringing you. They notice that it's not honoring and glorifying God. There's so much joy in living a life that honors and glorifies God. And I am not perfect. I'm not. I get angry and I'm not always the most loving with my words. But I really try. And I see the favor of God in so many things in my life. I see his hand working so diligently in my life. And I've lived a life where I couldn't see that. And I don't ever want to go back there. And I don't want you to be there. I love you guys so, so much. And I know I say that at the end of every episode, but it does not lack weight. No matter how many times I say it, I mean it just as much. I really do love you. And I want the best for you. But the best for you is Jesus. And I want you to just know the freedom that's on the other side of whatever you're stuck in right now. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.